John Balfe of themaclife.com, outside Madison Square Garden in New York City, where we've just come out of the UFC 217 ceremonial weigh-ins. It's a big night of fights tomorrow night here. George St. Pierre returns to the octagon for the first time in nearly 4 years, and I'm standing alongside a compatriot of his, Mike Bohn of USA Today and RollingStone.com. Now, Mike, George St. Pierre seemed to be previously, last time we saw him, he seemed like a bag of nerves. This time around, complete opposite. What did you make of his stature up there?
Yeah, I just thought he was so happy to be here. You saw him, pointing at Michael Bisping, laughing. He was just having the time of his life up there, it seemed like. And it's a perfect depiction of what he's been like all week. And even, I'd say, just the whole lead up to this fight, even going back to when it was first announced in March. He's been very excited to come back. It seems like he's on point. He doesn't have all that pressure, that stress that's really was weighing on him. It was very obvious going into those previous fights, the Johnny Hendricks, even before that, Nick Diaz, those final few fights he had, every moment of that. I'm sure the fact he didn't have to do a tough weight cut down to 170 helped out, and he's just, seems like he's on point, all cylinders firing. I don't know how that's going to translate on fight night, but in terms of, looking at his demeanor, everything, looking for warning signs or concerns, I haven't seen any.
And the other side of that coin as well, his opponent, Michael Bisping, the middleweight champion, he seems quite highly strung to me. He seems like he's kind of feeling the pressure of the situation. Do you get that sense also?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, it's so hard to read Bisping because he's just so, boisterous, so bodacious. He goes out there, he's pointing. I think he dropped many not safe for TV words, rather, during that final speech with Joe Rogan. He's just, Michael Bisping's a character. He's one of the all-time greats. And, of course, there's pressure on him. He doesn't want to lose to a returning George St. Pierre, a guy who's not in his weight class, a guy who's coming back after this long break. Michael Bisping has been active over these years, so he has a lot to lose here. If GSP loses this fight, it's more just the return didn't go his way. Maybe he shouldn't have come back. Maybe, he shouldn't have changed weight classes, all this stuff. For Bisping, he's got his title to lose, his record for most UFC wins to lose, just all this stuff. So, yeah, I can definitely see, for comparing it, he has the most pressure, Michael Bisping, for sure.
And the next title fight on the card, of course, is the bantamweight title fight between arch rivals Cody Garbrandt and TJ Dillashaw. Do you think this fight can actually quell the rivalry between these two guys, or is this going to be one of those things that just continues as long as they're professional athletes?
It's hard to say because it depends how the fight goes, depends what the future holds. If this is like a close fight, what we all think it could be a fight of the night, fight of the year type thing with just so much potential, we could see this multiple times happening. We could see a rematch, especially if the title changes hands. It could be the end if it's like a first-round knockout, a very dominant performance one way or the other. So I think the outcome of the fight really depends. But in terms of, for the time being, I actually was just talking to Justin Buchholz, one of the coaches at Team Alpha Male, after the weigh-ins. I'm like, are you ready for this thing to be over? I know obviously you want your guy to win. He's like, yeah, I can't wait. It's been just such a long build from the Ultimate Fighter to the fight being postponed to what's going on now. So yeah, I think all these guys are ready for this to be over for the time being, but I don't think you can say that this is the end of the rivalry because we have to wait till tomorrow night to see what happens.
And the third title fight, of course, on the card, Rose Namajunas challenges Joanna Jędrzejczyk for the women's strawweight title. Now, that was quite the weigh-in, I have to say, between those two. The bogey woman, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. First off, I think that's a great nickname for her, isn't it?
Yeah, well, she doesn't have a real nickname, so maybe that's the one. I like it. She's, man, what a terrifying woman Joanna Jędrzejczyk is. And I really don't know what to say about Rose Namajunas coming off that one. She's up there, saying prayers and stuff. It's really strange. I thought that was kind of a bizarre interaction with her after the weigh-ins. So I don't really know what to expect out of her. But either way, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, she's just a gift to MMA right now. She's so entertaining. She makes it really fun, really intense, and I think that's going to translate into what type of fight we see tomorrow.
Right. And of course, it's the stacked card on UFC 217 tomorrow night. But the Irish interest, of course, lies with Joe Duffy, who's taking on James Vick on the headliner of the prelim card. First off, what are your thoughts on that fight? I personally think that's a fantastic matchup.
It's a great fight. Either of these guys could be in the top 15. They're just right on the cusp there. I know neither of them are ranked according to the UFC's rankings, but James Vick, I believe, 8-1 in the UFC, 7-1. Joe Duffy, of course, I think 4-1. So we have two guys that are extremely talented. Joe Duffy coming back after a bit of a break and signing this new contract from the UFC. I feel like he has a lot that he wants to prove in there, showing that I actually had the chance to go to TriStar and talk to him a couple weeks ago, and he said by the end of the 7-fight contract he plans to be the champion. So a lot riding on the line for him here. James Vick, the same. He's been begging for a name opponent, begging for a featured spot like this on a card. So for both these guys, just massively important. It's one of those things that they've taken so long to build up to this moment, and the winner will kind of break in, probably get a top 15 opponent next, but the loser, it's like a harsh setback because they're going to have to redo this climb all over again. It's just going to be tough.
It is, and we'll have answers to all of these questions, I guess, around this time tomorrow, and you can stay tuned to themaclife.com where we'll be covering all of it, and you might even see Mike again, who knows.